Good evening, everyone, and welcome to DCR's Melnea ACAS Recreation Complex Capital Improvements Project public meeting. My name is Dan Cushing, DCR's Director of Public Engagement, and I'm excited to get into tonight's presentation. So we are offering interpretation in Spanish, Haitian Creole, and ASL tonight. You can go to the meeting controls, click the small globe, that's the interpretation button, and you can select which language you'd like to hear the meeting in tonight. The rooms are already open, so should be able to get to those now. The recording and presentation for tonight will be uploaded at the link that you see on your screen. Additionally, after tonight's meeting, we will be sending a follow-up communication that includes the link to the recording, the presentation, as well as to the location where you can submit public comments. Just a heads up, we're going to have the presentation, and you can turn your cameras on and off during it, but your mics will be muted. We'll give you the mic during the Q&A session. If you're calling in, you can use *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute your mic when we give you those permissions. Next, we will thank the Healy Driscoll administration, as well as Secretary Tepper and Commissioner Arrigo, who is on the call with us tonight. Thanks, Commissioner, for their leadership, as well as our partners in the state legislature. So that's Senator Miranda and Rep. Tyler, who are also on our call, and you'll be hearing from them shortly as well. So thanks, everyone. And before we start all of our meetings, we like to read DCR's mission statement to help frame our conversation for tonight and set the groundwork for the discussion moving forward. And that's to protect, promote, and enhance our commonwealth of natural, cultural, and recreational resources for the well-being of all. And with that, I will be passing the mic over to Commissioner Arrigo. Commissioner?
Thanks, Dan. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Arrigo. I'm the Commissioner for the Department of Conservation and Recreation. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you tonight. Thank you for attending this important meeting. I'll go through the agenda very quickly. We're going to have some opening remarks from our state legislators, as well as Councilor Fernandez Anderson, who I believe is on the call as well. Thank you, Councilor, for joining. Thank you, Senator Miranda and Rep. Tyler for joining as well. I'll just say this at the beginning. At DCR, our work is really focused on improving the health and well-being of the communities that we serve all across the Commonwealth. And we do that by connecting them with recreational resources like the CAS. And these spaces are so important to our Commonwealth and to our mission as an agency. They bring our neighbors, friends, and families together. And certainly that's been the case for the CAS over the last 50 years. And we're excited about the improvements that we're going to hear a little bit about. And more importantly, I think I'm excited to hear some of the feedback that folks may have about the improvements that we're looking to make. So just going through the agenda, we're going to hear some remarks from our electeds next, and then we'll get into a slideshow presentation. Our design and engineering team has been really hard at work with a number of folks in our agency, and I want to give a special recognition to Raul Silva, who has spearheaded that on behalf of our design and engineering team. He's very well acquainted with the space, knows it in and out, and has had some great suggestions and some great ideas about how to make improvements. We'll go through the timeline. We'll talk about the improvements, and then we'll open it up for Q&A as well. So really look forward to a great conversation. And I guess before I turn it over, I do want to express my appreciation for the flexibility that folks have had in sharing this space with families over the last several months. I know that it's been a difficult situation, but we're looking forward to getting the pool reopened this June, and then these improvements to really make the CAS, as I said, the special space that it's been for families in the neighborhood for generations. So with that, I would turn it over to Senator Miranda if she wants to speak, and we can hear from the local elected officials. Senator Miranda, feel free.
Sorry, one moment. Okay, should have the permission, Senator.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Super excited to be here at this point. Before I begin my quick remarks, I just really want to thank you, Commissioner, the Governor, the Lieutenant Governor, and the Secretary. I want to thank Friends of Cass. I want to thank my colleagues, Rep. Tyler and Councilor Fernandez Anderson, the permit holders, and especially the residents of Roxbury, particularly the youth and the elders who have been using this facility for the last few decades and for the last few months have had to be inconvenienced. But we do believe that we have a great plan here, and I'm just looking forward to hearing from the residents and the permit holders and the organizations that have really stepped up to the plate to ensure that we have a high quality recreational space where young people and their families can go to swim, go to learn, go to play, and learn to grow. Thank you all.
Thanks, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
Representative should be able to unmute your mic.
Yes, good evening, everyone. This is Representative Tyler. Good evening, everyone, and I'm really honored to be here. Just want to give a quick thank you first to the community for being very patient with this. This is one of very few times that you will see a big initiative like this in Roxbury. I know the first conversation around even, jotting this around was very difficult. But again, I want to first thank the community for being very patient. Of course, thank my colleagues, thank DCR, thank the governor, Lieutenant Governor, and Commissioner Arrigo. This was really a big initiative, and I just want to thank you all for, again, continuing to be consistent. And I guess my quick remarks is that it's not that many times that you really see government or get to actually experience government doing what they say they're going to do. And this is one of the times that I'm actually very proud to be a part of the team that I'm a part of. So this is it. I've had the opportunity to visit the Cass Center countless times. And as this initiative has come to a close, or is coming to a close, I would say, I'm proud to have helped out the countless families that we've helped out. They've come a long way, and I've been through so much, and I'm really, really grateful for all of us here for doing what we do to make sure that they can continue on and on a pathway of upward mobility with their families. They've shopped at local stores, they got connected to resources, they've met a lot of people in the community. And from the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of them, they're really, really grateful. So I just want to say thank you to them as well. I know that most of them aren't on the call, and I don't like for folk to speak on behalf of folks, to speak to folks that aren't, present, but they are very grateful, and I actually want to thank them as well. I'm glad to have be a part of this partnership. I also too want to thank the friends as well. We've had an opportunity to partner to make sure that Black businesses and businesses of color in general were a part of this initiative. They've done the food, they've done security, they've cleaned, they've done everything around this initiative to actually make it happen in partnership with AMI. So I'm very proud about that, and we hope to continue to have government initiatives that are inclusive of the big and small businesses in our community. So as we continue on this conversation, please don't hesitate to share your feedback. This is a draft of what we hope is to be successful, but again, it's something that is that we will be more than happy to adjust if need be. So don't hesitate to share your feedback. Thank you all so much. And Raul, special shout out to you because I know you did a lot of work on this effort. So thank you again. And I look forward to engaging in this discussion. And if you guys need me, I'll drop my number in the chat. I'm more than happy to advocate on behalf of anybody who has any questions. So thank you all again.
Thank you, Rep, for your remarks. I thought I saw Councilor Fernandez Anderson in the room. Councilor, if you're able, if you can unmute and say a few words.
If the counselor could raise her hand, we can give her permissions. I don't see her on the list right now, but maybe we can continue with the meeting, and in the event that she raises her hand, maybe we can give her the mic permissions. But in the interim, pass it back to you, Commissioner.
Absolutely. So we'll jump right into the slideshow, and I'll hand it over to Raul, who, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, has done a tremendous amount of work around these improvements, and as I said, has a storied history with the cast. So I just appreciate the work that he's done, and I'll hand it over to you, Raul. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's a very busy night. I'll jump right into the update, and I would add one quick comment to Dan's opening remarks. This slide deck is available on our webpage. So I'd encourage anybody, grab a copy, send it to somebody who couldn't be on the call. If you had a question or something about something, or question about something that you didn't get to, download it, take another look at it. We'll be around to try to receive input. So first item is the shelter operation. So as the governor mentioned in our beginning, the shelter operation will end and the facility will be returned to DCR management effective June 1st. With that, we're going to retain a number of pieces of equipment and furnishings that were purchased for the shelter that I think will be a valuable tool in our reuse and remaking of the facility. Next slide, Dan. Most important thing I think that we can announce tonight is that phase 1 work, which is underway now, will result in the swimming pool opening same Saturday at 11 a.m. that every other DCR swimming pool opens. So Saturday, June 22nd will be a happy day for all of us, particularly the engineers on the call that are scrambling to make sure that the pool will open on schedule. That is primarily the phase 1 period. From when the shelter ends to when the pool opens is phase 1. Most important deliverable is on Saturday when the pool opens, Saturday, June 22nd. The phase 2 work. We are not going to open the arena in the summer. We are using this as an opportunity to do some needed improvements. We're hoping to replace the athletic floor, do some upgrades to the lobby area, sort of the reception area, that space, and then have the arena reopen for use no later than Labor Day. So we are working to beat that date, but it'd be mid to late August, but Labor Day is a conservative schedule. And again, we're going to reopen it with a new floor and some other upgrades. After that work is done, we're then going to return over to the bathhouse side, the pool bathhouse side, and do some additional work to finish off what we hope to use as a multi-purpose room. So that is I guess I'll refer to it as the former pool bathhouse lobby. There's been a number of upgrades done. We're going to do some additional upgrades after the pool closes to make that space much more usable as really a shared community space. And we're going to do some roof repairs and install solar panels on the roof. Again, this is in phase 3 work after the arena reopens. It will be, when we're done by end of the calendar year, maybe midwinter, it'll be one of the largest rooftop solar installations in the city, certainly the largest in the greater Roxbury area. Next slide, Dan. Phase 1. I think I've said it 4 times, and this is the 3rd time it shows up. We're really excited to get the pool reopened in June, and I'm sure the kids and adults in the neighborhood would agree. In the time from when the shelter ends and the pool opens, we're going to do some improvements to the pool bathrooms and showers. As you can imagine, those bathrooms and showers have got quite a bit of use in the last few months. We're replacing any fixtures that need work. We're really going to give it a deep cleaning. There's some shower curtains we're going to replace. So nothing major, but it all adds up. We are preparing to complete a new shade and tree planting project in the entrance plaza. So that's the area directly in front of the pool bathhouse. There's a graphic coming up that'll detail that work. And we have, as of today, and we will when the pool reopens, and I believe we're going to have it for the foreseeable future, fully operational Wi-Fi network in the facility. So those of us in state government know how difficult that is to get a Wi-Fi network in a large public building. I would add, Commissioner's really been instrumental in navigating this for us, and we will have the first Wi-Fi network in DCR that actually the network expands outside. So the Wi-Fi network will expand both on the pool deck and in that entrance plaza in front of the facility. So we're excited about that. Next slide, Dan. This is the entrance plaza shade project. And again, one of the reasons I think I asked that you download the spray deck is I couldn't get these photographs any bigger, but there'll be two large solar shelters for shade in that concrete plaza, those two squares in the middle. There are PV panels on top of it. You'll be able to sit in the shade, and those PV panels will provide charging stations for phones and laptops, so you'll be able to have kids work there. Folks that are working from home can now maybe work outside, use the Wi-Fi network. Folks that just want to get out of the sun and sit down and have lunch. So those two shelters will be in place this summer. We're adding down at the bottom, number 3, a couple awnings on the pool bathhouse. And those are being done because we're going to relocate the benches up against the wall of the facility. And now you'll have some shade as you're sitting in those benches. And then we're going to plant 3 new trees. There are some existing trees that are mature and beautiful, and we've worked hard to avoid impacting them as we worked on the pool. So we're going to add 3 new trees right in the middle where there's a gap, and eventually those trees will mature, provide natural shade, and obviously a lot of other environmental benefits. So tree planting is something we take a lot of pride in at DCR, and we're happy to add a few to the CAS landscape. Next slide, Dan. Phase 2 improvements. So after the pool is open, we're going to begin work immediately this summer on a new arena floor, new sound system, and protective padding at interior walls around the arena. So that's some work or items that have come to our attention. We're going to add new athletic equipment. So that's nets, goals, benches, a few more items to facilitate and supply the athletic operation of that facility. I want to thank a couple people on this call, DCR staff. So many folks have thanked me already. Gianni, Hill, and AJ did a phenomenal job in finding space for all the permitted users, and their input or feedback came directly to me. I will give credit where credit is due. Those folks made the recommendation to add some benches to the facility. So when their kids or grandkids are at soccer class or learning track and field, they have a place to sit. And I really appreciated that simple request. So we're going to add benches to all the athletic equipment, make it a much more usable space. We're excited to get another great idea from the outreach we've had from the Friends Group and permitted users to establish a new entrance sign in the front corner of the facility. There's an image coming up for that later. Then I mentioned the lobby upgrades. We're going to replace the floor. There's going to be new monitors installed. Those monitors will be digital, sit up on the wall. It allows us to advertise the schedule, advertise the permitted users, provide public information for other community events, other DCR opportunities. If we were open now, we would be advertising lifeguard positions or other job opportunities within GCR. So again, that is something we're looking as a means to modernize the facility, and all of that would be controlled by the front desk. Next slide, Dan. We'll get into a little bit more detail. This is the arena floor. First option, I should add that we are using the same flooring material with one change. We're going to add a surface material that has a bit more traction. So one of the items we've gotten loud and clear from the users, floor is a little slippery. And I think that comes from being 14 years old, and I was the engineer that designed and built it, and it came with a 10-year design life. So we're happy that it made it to 14, but obviously overdue for replacement. So we've made those changes. This floor is striped for the existing permitted users for tennis, for handball, for indoor soccer. The track around the perimeter of the arena, I would add a small change that's not so easy to see. We flattened out the corners. The track that is there now is a walking track. When we built the facility, we really focused on the athletics inside the perimeter. And we honestly just said, let's just add a track around so folks could walk. Those corners on the existing walking track are a little tight for track and field instruction. So we flatten them out on this version. If you go to the next slide, Dan, there's a couple other options we're considering. And again, we're really interested in your feedback. One of the items we heard from our tennis users is the tightness of the courts going the short way between the baseline and the wall. So one option we're considering is adding maybe one court, maybe two. This version shows two, where the courts go the long way. We're also considering adding basketball striping. And I'd make the note, it is not for competitive basketball. It is for skill development, basketball practice, half courts, giving kids and adults and former basketball players like myself, once you can play, you always want to play. And I don't play anymore, but I love to shoot. And I love to shoot with my kids and my neighbors. So it gives me a place to go shoot. So again, it would be striped for basketball. We'd have temporary courts, temporary baskets, but it would not be used. We would not have a full court. So it would not be used for basketball games, but for practice. Go to the next option, if you would. Next slide, Dan. This is sort of a hybrid of the two. On the left side, you see the two tennis courts going the short way. On the right side of the screen, you see one tennis court going the long way with a basketball striping up top. So I think we're really interested in hearing the feedback of the users, which they prefer. There's pros and cons to each. I should add that we are replacing the existing curtain dividers that gives us the ability to divide the rink into quarters with mechanical dividers. So it'll help staff. You basically push a button, you can open and close those curtains. So there are pros and cons to each. And frankly, I like the idea of adding at least a basketball court, and I will defer to our tennis partners on how they want to see the tennis court striped. But the material will be ready by Labor Day. We're really interested. I'm really interested in hearing people's feedback tonight or over the next couple of weeks of what they prefer, maybe other items that we've missed. And then we'll put it into a final design and be ready to build it. We do hope to be under construction with this floor on Monday, June 4th. So the shelter is going to close on the 1st. We're hoping to be under construction on a new floor so that we can have it ready by mid-August, Labor Day at the latest. Next slide, Dan. New signage. So again, I really appreciate the feedback that you folks have gotten, Gianni and AJ and the commissioner. That doesn't trickle down to me. That comes directly to me. So one idea that we really got a little excited about is a new entrance sign. And an entrance sign with a digital message screen. So you could see, and the suggestion was something similar to what is at RCC. So engineer that looked a little like me was standing in the middle of that intersection trying to take the picture on the right, and folks were kind enough to let me get a picture. And we are envisioning a similar sign at the corner of Washington Street and MLK Boulevard to replace that existing sign that you can see on the left. And I'm sure folks have in their mind what we could use that digital message board for. When the facility is open, when programs are active, any special events, lifeguard hiring, other DCR events, other community events. It's a prominent intersection in Roxbury. So I really appreciate the support of the idea. I've circulated it internally. I think we're excited to build something like this at CAS. We don't have a digital message board on any DCR facility sign, but Commissioner mentioned something. This is something that would really help modernize the facility, improve the programming, community outreach. So that is something we're excited about. Next slide, Dan. I mentioned the pool bathhouse, or I think this should be the last summer that we refer to it as the pool bathhouse, because one of the things we're trying to do is, again, just expand on the use and the investment by making it more of a community space, less of a bathhouse that opens and closes over 2 or 3 months. So the multi-purpose room will have carpeting, will have 2 digital monitors, the same type of monitors that are that will be in the lobby. We have upgraded the heat. We have upgraded the AC and ventilation. The 2 rooms down at the bottom, that room marked A is now serving as a kitchenette, sort of a food service area for the shelter. We're hoping to, again, build on that, add some counters, add a microwave or 2, make it a full kitchenette. If there's any catering that needs to be done, that's where it would happen. Area B, that room B, is going to be under use as our lifeguard locker room. But when the pool closes, we now have furnishings in place that can convert that pretty quickly for the other 10 months of the year to be used as a conference room. Obviously, the bathrooms will stay. They'll all be rebuilt. We've got a pool manager's office that we could look to repurpose, a first aid room, again, that we could look to repurpose. We are really looking for ideas. We're looking for some action items. Commissioner's going to talk later about staffing, but one of the objectives that we have is, with this capital investment, to upgrade CAS to be functional not only as an athletic center, but as a community center. And the investment in this space, it's a large multi-purpose modern, will be a large multi-purpose modern room, Wi-Fi, 2 digital screens. The possibilities are really have increased with our investment. Next slide, Dan. Phase 3. So now where the arena's opened, everybody loves it. Raw, you did a great job on the floor. We'll still have more work to do. We're going to go back to that multi-purpose room when the pool is closed. And based on what we hear tonight, what we hear over the summer, whatever finish work we need. So we've heard about movie night. So maybe we need to buy a large screen and a projector to show movies. The roof repair and the solar will happen. There were some minor repairs on the arena over the last few years. So we're not redoing the whole roof, but we're redoing the seams. So the seams on the metal roof need replacement, and then we're going to put solar over the whole new roof. One item that's going to take us a little bit of time to put in place, but we've heard loud and clear from our users, is the idea of a large garage door to better access the arena. So we've got a plan. It's going to take some design work. We're going to have to cut into the wall on the Shelburne end of the arena. But that is something that is doable. We'll hopefully have that built by winter. We're looking at a couple options now. The Shelburne Center has been a phenomenal neighbor of ours and a partner. And any time that we need to have a contractor access the facility, we drive up through the Shelburne driveway. We drive up right into that back door whenever we need to get at the pool. They've never said no. The only thing they say is come at 3 o'clock versus 2 o'clock. But they've always allowed us access. They've been a phenomenal neighbor for us since we've rebuilt it. And we're going to do some spray deck upgrades. So when the summer ends this year, spray deck is great. It gets a lot of use. Because it gets so much use, the rubber floor, the rubber material is a little tired. So we're going to replace the rubber, add some benches, just really give it a facelift. So you'll see those changes for next season. Next slide, Dan. As I said, tonight's deck is available at that webpage. We're really looking for feedback, comment, help out your friendly engineer by letting me know what you think of the floor striping, particularly the tennis users. We'd like to get that we'd like to get that input by the middle of May, and we're going to take that input, put it into practice, and be ready to rebuild the floor. I'll turn it back over to Dan and the commissioner.
Perfect. Thanks for all. And just want to thank everyone for joining tonight. This was a great presentation, and I'm looking forward to getting into the Q&A now. So there are going to be two ways that you can ask questions during tonight's meeting. You can post questions in the into the chat, or you can raise your hand as Joe and Diane have just raised their hands. I'd also like to extend an opportunity to Councilor Anderson, who has joined us this evening as well. So, Counselor, I just want to give you permission to unmute your mic, and if you'd like to just say a few words before we jump into the Q&A, I'd love to give you the opportunity to do so now. I'd actually like to also hand the mic over to the Commissioner as well, if there are a few words you'd like to say prior to the Q&A too.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, my turn?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for extending some time for me to speak. Just want to say hello to everyone, and very happy that we are here at this point following the governor's promise to deliver not only a redeveloped or revitalized Melnea cast, but also to deliver it back to, or to return it back to community. And of course, interested in more conversations about the migrants and ensuring their stability after this. But thank you so much for hosting this meeting. I'll be here for the full duration of the meeting if anyone should have any questions for me as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. And I do want to just make one note on the relocation efforts that our team undertook. There was a tremendous amount of support from the city of Boston and in our work in our efforts, and that was a real collaborative effort. And I just want to recognize the city's role in supporting us as we, as we helped out the permittees. And I know that was a really challenging situation, and just appreciate the flexibility of everybody to help make that happen. There were a couple of other things I wanted to just note before we jump into the Q&A. One is around staffing. We certainly understand and appreciate and know that the cast is an important space, and ensuring that the center is adequately staffed is a top priority for us. And ultimately, the staffing will allow us and ensure that we can offer a wide variety of consistent, engaging, and accessible programming for families. And that those efforts are ongoing. And I just want to acknowledge that as part of these improvements come hand in hand with additional staffing that will be at the CAS. Another couple of other notes just to make. One is around local contracting. Certainly our goal as an agency is to prioritize local businesses in supporting any improvements that we make all across the Commonwealth. And this is a consistent approach that we take to the work that we do, and that will continue on with these improvements. And one interesting bit of information was that the floor that Raul spoke to that was installed 14 years ago was installed by a Mattapan-based company. And so we actively look for options for us to contract with local businesses. So that will be certainly high on our priority list as we move forward, after we get your feedback and we start to move forward. The two other issues that I want to address, one is on storage. you heard, the fact that we're thinking about how we can be flexible in terms of the multi-purpose room and the other spaces that are there. We certainly understand and have heard loud and clear that equipment storage is a priority for the folks that use the CAS. So I want everyone to know that we're actively exploring various options and happy to hear any feedback that folks have about that to make sure that we have suitable solutions for storage at the facility. And then the last is around security. We've heard from some of the stakeholders and from our friends that this is a high priority. We are exploring different design options in the lobby to help us better manage the visitors of the space. And ultimately, we're hoping that these improvements boost the usage of the CAS, and we want to be sure that we're prepared for that, and we have the staffing, we have security measures in place, and that this can continue to be a tremendous place for everybody. So I wanted to just speak to those points and make sure that folks know that those are priorities for us. And as we get feedback, we'll be continuing the dialogue and providing additional feedback for everyone. So just appreciate the work that this team has done, that the community has done around getting us to this point in terms of what I hope are some great improvements for the CAS. And with that, we can open it up to Q&A.
Terrific. Thanks, Commissioner, and thanks again, Counselor. So I just saw a request for me to take down the screen so that we can see questions and answers. And I'd just like to reiterate that that we will be sharing tonight's presentation after the meeting. And we can go to Lehan's now. So let's do that, and then we'll go through the chat questions. I'm not seeing the option to undo my screen share. Is that do we still see the thank you slide? I'm just asking the other hosts. We can still see this. Okay. We can go to Diane first, and then we'll go through hands in sequential order. So Diane, I'm just give you permission to unmute your mic, and you should be able to do so now.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Diane Wilkerson, Chair of the Friends of the CAS. I want to really speed through, but just to start by saying, it's taken a lot for us to get here, and I do think that it's sad but appropriate that we celebrate the situation where government is doing what they say they're going to do. I think the governor, I'm going to say the elected officials took a lot of heat, if you recall, in January and February for people who doubted. And I think that that heat was based on our historical experience. But here we are in the end of May, and it does appear that we're on the schedule that was committed when we started this. And so I do think that it is appropriate for the thank yous. And I hope that we could continue to scream to the highest. There's also a lot of things that DCR is working on that they didn't necessarily address. I would say that the elected officials have never taken their eyes off of this focus. And so I do think it is appropriate to say out loud a thank you to Senator Miranda, Representative Tyler, Councilor Fernandez Anderson, and the community, the Friends of the CAS. I see the names and so many faces who have been here. So let me get to the points that we missed. For those of you who are familiar with the historical relationship between the Melnea CAS rink and the Kelly rink, will recall that our plan for the CAS was the youth in the Kelly rink rent ice skates, and they have a trailer, they rent the skates, and that money is used for activities. We had always planned for the youth at the CAS to rent roller skates, and we actually had a corporate donor, almost 10 years ago, who was ready to donate the cost of the initial layout for the skates. I don't have any doubt that we can resurrect that. But the idea is, again, and I'm part of the opportunity with imploring for us to do skate nights, roller skate nights, family nights. And we're excited about that because it's one of the many things that people shared with us. We asked for an electronic billboard. Some of you may recall, we were rolling that billboard to the corner whenever we had an event, but there was only one. And so it was on the list. I love the idea of the digital board. Between that and the skates, we have not had a family day at the CAS, which was an annual ritual since 2019 when we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the CAS. And so I want to put in the wind right now that we need to be thinking about doing a CAS Family Day early in the fall so that people can come, and it's an open house. We work with our elected officials, our community businesses who sponsor so much of the activities. We've had some pretty incredible family days. I think the last one we had 5 Olympians that came to the CAS on that day and celebrated that with Governor Baker. We hope to be celebrating in 2024, early in the fall, and want to put that on the schedule. The issue with respect to local businesses, I think, again, worth saying out loud, if we can't get business for our community, local businesses, Black businesses, Latino businesses in our community, we can't get it anywhere. So that's our expectation. We know that there are people out there that can do floors. They can do everything that you have listed on the items and activities. And so we want to make sure we continue to do that. And you could use the CAS as your example of how this can work, because we do think that it has been successful. The Friends of the CAS have been that in between, that voice between community, and we'll continue to do that. But I also think that people need to remember that you should thank yourselves, because we're using your money to do this. That's how this gets paid. This is taxpayers' money. So we sometimes forget. We think it's the commissioner's money, the governor's money, the elected officials' money. It's your money. And most of the time, that money doesn't get connected to the communities that are obligated to pay it. This is one time that it will. And so please, we'll have time to celebrate. But right now, as the counselor said, we are concerned of the next step, the next life of the immigrants who have spent, and the children who have spent their last 2 or 3 months living in a shelter, and the community that will soon have its family rec center back because of all of this and all the work that you all did. We want to say thank you. I think the last thing, commissioners, that we would just like to get to a sit-down meeting sooner than later so that we can see, and maybe it's with Raul. We have the athletes, we have the tracksters, we have the tennis folks, so we can look at the materials that you plan to use, because I think that is important for us to do that. That's really my list. Just thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Excellent.
Wall padding. You didn't talk about that, Raul. That's important. And please, if you could, at some point, let people know the plan around the padding on the wall in the rec field. Sorry.
No, those great comments. I'm really happy that you provided lots of really good input on this project. A lot of follow up that us in the team, the project team, will do. After this meeting as well. A lot of ongoing conversations that we can continue to have, and really appreciate you joining us tonight, Diane. And just want to thank you again for the comments. So I think we can go to Clifton now, and then we'll go to Giannine. So Clifton, let me give you permission to unmute your mic, and you should be able to do so now.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, DCR and government officials. And well said, Mrs. Wilkerson. My name's Clifton Braithwaite. I'm the outreach coordinator and manager for Fort Bar and Grill. We're going to be doing a lot of things in the community as well. And I'd like to say hello to Donna Scott, one of the originators back in the days when we used to do planting. So I'm just going to go into the things that I like to see there. One, I would like for us to have a planting flowers during the summer and winter, because there are winter flowers that children and elders could come on out and work the field and get an understanding. I would like to see a lot more learning programming that's fun. We have computers. I like to see a computer room for young people. They like to do gaming. So, let's attract them with the gaming, but also make it educational. I'm totally against basketball coming there because in our community, that's one of the most things pushed for young people to do basketball. Since we have a great relationship with the Shelbourne, maybe we can do some things where we filter a basketball program over there, but I like it to be more based on education and training of basketball and the proper way to act. We can use people in the community, like my brother that does suits, so we can train them to be prepared for prep school, college, things like that. Um, Everything else that I heard so far is great. I like to have more cleaning in the community where we can base people to understand the importance of clean that will help with their environment, loving our community, the billboard thing that I heard. I will mail all this in. I'm trying to move fast so others can get on in. And with you experts, I know you're catching on. And I also would like, I'm the Boston manager for Tony Wilson, young James Brown, and he's taught classes across the world, China, Japan, Chicago. And we want to infiltrate something like working with the Boston Public Schools, since we don't have enough of a music program. And most of the times we're doing full bands. We would like to do a rhythm band to teach them what it is to be a musician, teach them how to read notes and things of that nature. I will email more information in detail, but I really would like to be at the table. I love my community. Roxbury was the first place that I moved to, and all those facilities in that area are part of my development and who I am. So I would really like to be a part of it. And please, no basketball, y'all. No basketball. We have enough in that in our community. So once again, my name's Clifton A. Braithwaite, community advocate for over 3 decades. Right now, I'm representing Fort Bar and Grill, and we're going to be doing a lot of outreach in the community, cleaning and working with our elders and the young people. So I like to keep that relationship going on and sit down with everybody at the table. And Senator was right. We have the right people in the helm. Let's keep showing the community that government does work for the people, and let's change the narrative and let's change the direction that we feel in our community. And I'm glad everything is on target and heading in the right direction. Thank you, everyone, for your work, your hard work, and thank you. And I will send more details later.
Please do, Clifton. That was great. Thank you so much for participating tonight, and thanks for the comments. Really helpful. Yeah, looking forward to seeing the follow-up as well. And also, just as a heads up, like I said a little earlier, but I always try to repeat it while we're on the meetings, that we'll be sending the recording, the slide deck, and the link where you can all submit public comments shortly after tonight's meeting, after we have those materials, uploaded, the recording and such. So you'll hear from us shortly, but let's continue on with the meeting. So Janine, I can give you permissions to unmute your mic, and you should be able to do so now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janine. I'm with the Franklin Park Tennis. That's been at the cast since it's reopened. And I want to thank Clifton, because that was actually my thought is, as I looked at the floor layouts, I understand the multiple lines for different activities, but I believe when the cast reopened regarding basketball, that it was very clear that they didn't want basketball at the cast because the Shelbourne provided that, and it was also available at the park. So in terms of just the layouts and the busyness, that, if basketball is, the question is whether or not basketball should be on the table. And I agree with Clifton that that there's a lot of basketball available in the community, and just to kind of simplify some of the flooring would be nice, to not be overwhelmed with too many options on the floor. But I am very pleased that this is moving forward and things are organized and clear and communicated, and I really do appreciate the opportunity to be involved in the planning as well. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Janine, and thank you for joining us and participating in this, because really it's it's the back and forth that's really necessary to know what's needed at the facility. So we really appreciate you joining us. And like I said, you'll hear from us shortly after tonight's meeting as well. So I think we did have another hand raised, and I don't see it anymore. So maybe I can start reading the questions that were posted in the chat, and then in the sorry, Amanda, I see that you have your hand raised. So let me give you permissions to unmute, and then I'll start reading the chat questions and comments shortly after this. So, hi, Amanda.
Hello, good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I just had just a couple of questions as I got on into the meeting. I'm a little late. How long is this process going to take? And if it's going to take longer than a year, are there going to be other neighboring community centers that that part of Roxbury will be able to utilize during that time? Yeah, that's it. That's my question.
Oh, Dan, I could take the answer, I think. So the objective is it will be a 4-month process. So we're going to start in June and have the arena reopened by Labor Day. So we are hopeful to reopen the arena, new and improved condition, but it should not be beyond Labor Day that the facility has reopened.
Okay, and my second question would be, is there a conversation or at least a meeting process to where the city hall officials can actually meet with community members to actually have an initiated permanent schedule for the community, as far as like having events thrown in and families of that section of Roxbury having that community center there and not necessarily know what's going on, in their community? Because seeing that part of Melnea Cass Center, that's Martin Luther King Boulevard, Washington Street, Dale Street, it's right in the middle, and it's almost like for you to actually be on any one of those neighboring streets and you don't necessarily know what's going on in your neighborhood, there has to be like some kind of permanent schedule so that way families can know when, where, how they can send their children, to computer classes, educational things. And I do agree with Mr. Bradwaite as far as like the educational pieces being implemented into the Melnea Cass Center, because basketball isn't the only way out of the hood, and it shouldn't necessarily be advertised as the only way. We can always go, to college. We can always, go to different parts of Massachusetts. Basketball isn't the only ticket out. And I also feel like when it comes down to having community members knowing what's going on in their community, they're more ample to utilize the resources that are right in their community instead of traveling out to Jamaica Plain, Hyde Park, Dorchester, things of that nature.
I'll give the short answer. So one of the items we hope to improve on is the operating hours of the CAS facility, how you can build a program, host a program, and then also when it is open for the public, when there's a gap in the schedule and the facility is open. So I think all of that information will be readily available. And actually, that is one reason why we're excited about a message board on the entrance sign. So not only will it be available in the arena on our webpage, but you could see where we could have a scrolling calendar that as you walk or drive by, you'll know the hours of the facility, when it's available, what programming is out there. So good questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for answering them. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Amanda. Thanks for participating, and thanks for the responses here all. And really appreciate the time. And I saw that one of the questions in the chat was about accessibility on site for those with disabilities. Do you think we could probably possibly speak to those, and then we can go over to Derek's hand raised, and then I'll go back to the chat.
Sure. So the site, the facility is fully accessible today, and we're going to expand on that with thought in the new floor. There are no barriers in the arena. One of the beauties of the space, it is large, it is flat, that floor is stable. There's automatic doors, there's ramps that lead you over to the pool. There's a lift to get folks in and out of the pool that need help. So we can always improve on that. So one of the items with the new sound system, it comes with an ability for announcements. So it's not only the physically impaired, but those that have a hearing challenge or sight. So we are looking to further, improve everything we can do to make it to continue to have it to be a fully accessible facility. So it's a great question, and we're obviously interested in adaptive recreational programming. So we host adaptive recreation in a number of our facilities. That is something that we're hoping to expand on at CAS during those hours that it's not in use for permitted users. So I didn't see who asked that question, but if you have any background in the accessible community, please put us in touch with folks that might be interested in using the space.
Absolutely. Thanks for all. And yep, it was a chat a little earlier in the meeting, but just wanted to make sure that we touch base with the chat before I continue with the hands raised. So we'll go to Derek, and then I'll start reading some of the chat questions to make sure that all forms are participating, as well as I should also mention that we're going to save the chat after the meeting and post it as well. So, we're going to try and make sure that we get to all of them. But in the event that there are more hands raised and we're going until 7:30, we're going to prioritize the hands raised. So I just want to make sure that I mentioned that as well. So Derek, I'll give you permission to unmute your mic now, and you should be able to do so. And then, yep.
Yeah, thank you. I want to congratulate and thank everybody who participated from wherever, community, etc., government, because this is, I think somebody mentioned, maybe it was Diane Wilkerson, this could have easily been a nightmare at this hour. It's clearly not. And so thank you for that, because that's not what I'm accustomed to. And I don't think the community it has been or is currently either. This is a great place to be compared to where it could be. Obviously, it's responsive to community input. It's thorough. I'm saying this for the record. And it's particularly a good use of an unexpected opportunity and timing of this facility moving unexpectedly from A to B, and now from B to C, so that at the end of it, all the planes land. Everyone's better off than they were when everyone's lives were disrupted in Haiti, Roxbury, at the governor's desk. And in that spirit of making good use of an opportunity, expected or unexpected, I would, sort of in a pre-reference to my comment in the chat, say that I'd like to be as equally impressed with the outside of the facility as what I'm hearing about the inside, design and use. And this is an opportunity. And I think we have an opportunity. We must take advantage of it, given that the site is located in a noted heat island. We've recently lost significant mature tree cover in adjacent Malcolm X Park. And when considering the sign as well, we want to take some things into consideration that I allude to in my comments. I don't need to go into here. I assume the comment will be taken seriously and responded to. And I guess I'll just end by saying, again, just really for the record, that some of the tree canopy that was lost in Malcolm X Park would not have been lost if the Malcolm X Park Improvement Project, which is adjacent to two other pieces of property that could all stand upgrades and improvement, had happened concurrently and in some kind of a partnership of tax-funded public entities and community-based assets. And so we might have not necessarily needed to have so many trees to removed to put in the plumbing for a splash pad that kind of replicates the one down the hill, just down the hill at this site. So that happened. It's water under the bridge. I know people then and now have different opinions about it, but both by will and good luck, this looks like this is well on its way to being a success. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Derek, and just really appreciate the participation. It's a great suggestion to look for us to maximize the outside as well as the inside for this facility. And Raul, do you think maybe we could speak a little bit more to like some of the plantings? I know that we had some slides up here. Maybe I can put them back on the screen just so that we can kind of emphasize the shade, and we could talk a little bit about it.
Sure. I'll just give you the quick answer. I appreciate the notice. We are maximizing tree planting in the front of the facility. So I rely on some experts in urban tree planting and maturity and growth, and they want to give trees space. So those 3 trees within a pretty quick period of time will mature and should provide shade to the entire front of the facility. We're trying to take some immediate intervention, and you're right about the heat island, with the construction of those shade shelters. So the tree planting in front of the facility, I didn't realize you lost trees with the city work on the park. So I'm now especially happy that we're adding 3 trees. But I have been told, and I've looked at it, those are going to maximize the tree plantings there. And I've seen some failures where people overdo tree planting, and trees need roots to grow and mature. And, if you put them too close together, you won't get that maturity. So thank you for the question. I think you'll be very thankful when you see those trees this summer.
Thanks, Raul, and thanks again, Derek. So I'm going to jump into the chat now, and if anyone else would like to speak on the meeting, or if anyone else who's already spoken would like to raise their hand and speak again, feel free to. But let me just jump into the chat now and read some of the questions and comments. So I see Asha Janey from the city's Roxbury liaison is here, so thank you for joining, as well as Rochelle from Senator Miranda's office has joined, so thank you. They posted some information as to how to reach out to them in chat, so thanks for joining. Coney asked this question, will we have the financials for the changes being proposed? Will this proposal include salaries for ongoing permanent additional staff?
So I'll take that question. The salaries for the staff are baked into our fiscal year budget. So I was actually going back on this in preparation for the meeting, and I took the commissioner's job on April 24th of last year, and I think by early May, I think May 14th, Senator Miranda had requested my appearance at the CAS to talk about improvements and to talk about additional staffing. And, with the support of the governor and the legislature, we had a significant increase in our budget this year. And so part of that has been building up the staff for the CAS. So the staff salaries are in our budget, and they're prioritized. In terms of the improvements, the capital improvements that we're talking about, we don't have a final number on what that will be. That will be publicly available when we begin the signing contracts and getting the work underway. But to date, we don't have specific numbers on the improvements. These are improvements that we're building into our capital plan. So our capital budget, roughly equates to $150 million for the 450,000 acres that we maintain and operate, the 2,000 plus buildings that we have all across the Commonwealth. But within that, we have the ability to pay for these improvements. So as those numbers become more clear, we'll be happy to share them with folks and make sure that they're publicly available.
Absolutely. Thanks, Commissioner, and thanks, Connie, for the question. And I think we can go to Tong here. Let me give you permission to unmute your mic, and you should be able to do so now. Yep.
Thank you. I just wanted to make comment, not just as a board member of Boston United, but also just as a child born of refugees. And I want to recognize the clarity of vision of all the public servants involved here. When the news came in January, when this all happened, it was very hard to process all of it so quickly. And it's very clear when I grew up with stories of the less than warm welcome that was received by my family coming into Boston. Much of that was starting to be seen at the beginning of all of this because there was so much fear, so much frustration, so much anxiety over everything. And to know that the civil servants here, the people leading this, never lost vision of the people coming into the CAS as well as the people who had already been using it, that all people needed to have their humanity served. This is a triumph of the city of Boston, of the leadership here, and that our club was included in the steps that necessary in ensuring that when we come back from this, we come back better for it. It's an incredible statement of what is possible for the community here, and on behalf of all refugees, it's an honor to witness it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate the comments, and thanks for participating tonight. Really, it's just really grateful, and looking forward to continuing our discussions as well. So, looking forward to that, and I think so. Joe is on the call, so let me give you permissions to unmute your mic. I see your hand is raised, and maybe we can do that, and then go back to the chat. Yep.
I just wanted to ask, are you guys now, once you do all these repairs, you're not going to redo this again? You're not going to put illegal immigrants back in the CAS, right? So, like, this is final. We're never going to do that again.
There are no plans for sheltering to occur at the CAS.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure of that. That's all. Thank you.
Terrific. Thanks for joining, and thanks for the question. Really appreciate it as well. So, yep, thank you so much. And I think we can continue with the chat questions. And again, if anyone would like to speak on the meeting as well, feel free to raise your hands. But in the interim, I'm going to continue reading the chats just to make sure that the comments are captured on the recording as well. And we'll make sure to distribute that recording as well with the chat and the slide deck, and send a follow-up email which contains all of that information so that you can all participate after tonight's meeting, as well as potentially forward it to any of your colleagues or friends, family that would like to participate in this process as well. This is an ongoing conversation. We're going to have a public comment period for the next 2 weeks. So really looking forward to all the comments that come in. And I'm going to just start reading some of the ones in the chat now. So let's see. So we left off with Connie, and then Corey said, Corey's from Rep Tyler's office, so thank you for joining, and they left their contact information there as well. And then Ashley commented, amen to our elected officials following through. Thank you for joining, Ashley. Amanda said, I don't think we should say thank you too soon. We are in dire need of modernization, but we shouldn't lose the soul of our city in the process. I appreciate that, Amanda, and we're going to continue to make sure that we can, see this project from the beginning to the end, and really work to get this done. And really looking for the comments, this evening, and going through the next 2 weeks for the comment period, as well as continuing the conversation as well. So really appreciate that. Bridget asked, was an ice rink part of the initial plan?
Short answer, Dan, it was not. I would consider this particular project, maybe I'd describe it as CAS 3.0. The CAS was originally built as a swimming pool with a skating rink, outdoor skating rink. That facility was connected, and the new CAS indoor recreation facility created 14 years ago. I think this particular project is an opportunity for CAS 3.0 to be in effect. And I heard a lot of great suggestions about computer labs and education space and art and other activities that we can now host in the multi-purpose room and the other areas of the facility. So an ice rink was not part of this plan, no.
Absolutely. Thanks for all. And I just appreciate the question, Bridget. And so I'm going to see if we can go to some of the questions while we still have the team on live so that we can try to have them answered. And then I can go back to the comments. There's a lot of great comments in the chat. Let's see. Sorry, one moment. Okay, so Tamika asked, are the youth expressing a strong desire for the outside basketball courts to be removed?
So those outdoor basketball courts are owned by the city, Dan. So I have not heard. I know I believe they lost one court when they renovated the other four. But we've gotten no information that additional courts would be removed. Maybe that's what this question refers to.
Yeah, thanks for all. And yeah, maybe we need to do some coordination on that. And I think this is a follow-up question related to youth outreach. So how have the youth been engaged in this process? Is there a plan process to ensure their voices are heard and their ideas are incorporated into the plans? My apologies if I missed this because I joined late, but I don't see them on the call. Are there any youth on this call?
So I'll take a crack at that, Dan. I think we rely on, I'm seeing over a dozen youth coordinators for athletic programs, other educational programs. I think we're going to rely on them tonight to sort of get the input of their students, of their participants. I hope that folks could take the slide deck and forward it on to the youth in their orbit to sort of get their input directly. We've heard loud and clear from the folks that the after-school kids that were in the facility last year talking to our staff, how they used the space and items that they gave our staff directly that they thought would be helpful. So our ears are open. We'd love to sort of facilitate that input. We've got a great outreach staff.
Absolutely. Thanks for all. And yeah, I just want to thank everyone again on the call. And maybe that's a great opportunity for us to do like the follow-up engagements that we're thinking about doing as well. So looking forward to that. That was a great question. And thanks again, Monica, for posting that. So let me see what other questions we have, and then I can start reading some of the comments. Actually, I see a hand raised. So, Joa, let me give you permissions to unmute your mic, and then I can go back to the chat. Yep.
Another thing, so it's my understanding that the cast is supposed to get fixed every 10 years, correct? Or repairs are supposed to happen every 10 years?
So it's a good question for the engineer. We do annual inspections of the entire facility, and we're not going to wait 10 years to replace or repair something that is in need. The floor went in 2010 with a design life of 10 years, and it made it 14 years. But we do an annual inspection, full structural inspection. I see another question in the chat about some rusting in the facility. So we keep our eyes on that. We don't wait 10 years to make a repair. So anything that's brought to our attention, we try to address as soon as possible.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure. So, but perhaps we'll make sure that engineer comes out every year.
Absolutely. We already are.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Terrific. Thanks again. This is a great question. And I think we can go back to the chat, and feel free to, if there are any other questions, anyone else on the call, I would like to just jump in. I'd just like to say, just as a heads up, we have about 10 more minutes on tonight's meeting. And like I said, there are going to be a lot more opportunities to both participate after tonight's meeting, where this recording will be distributed. You can rewatch it if you have additional comments after tonight's meeting. Maybe you wanted to rewatch it with someone else or send it along to one of your colleagues. More than happy to take comments after the meeting, even if you've participated tonight. Just it's kind of rolling for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll make sure to follow up shortly afterwards with any additional engagements. So let me get back to the questions in the chat. And again, if anyone would like to raise their hands, chat's saved, so we're going to make sure that all the questions and comments are saved after the meeting. But just wanted to reiterate that as well. So Lewis asked, will the public address system be able to accommodate exterior communications in the pool area and out in front of the building? Will there be improved external lighting?
I'll take those in reverse order. There's already been some improved external lighting. That's a byproduct of the shelter operation. The second part of the question, there will be improved audio speaker capability for the pool. We will not be adding, at least today, we will not be adding speakers to the front of the building. So exterior lighting's already, new exterior lighting already in place. The upgraded sound system will include an improved ability to make announcements on the pool deck, but not to the outside of the front of the building.
Terrific. Okay. Thanks, Raul, and thanks for the question there, Lewis. So let's see. Linda asked, question, splash pad, rubber deck. Check the heat temperature on the hot, hazy, humid heat wave days. Reskin burn.
It's a good question. We are redoing the deck. It will be a new rubber surface. It will be the biggest change. It'll be lighter in color. So our standard color is really a natural, very light tan. And then we stripe a perimeter in blue so that folks know when a little kid or a big kid hits the activator. If you're standing in the blue, you'll be dry. You step over the line, you'll be wet when the sprays start going. So it's a good question. This is also going to be a third generation spray deck. The first generation were concrete. This one was the part of the second wave that are rubber. And now I think every time we rebuild something, we improve upon it. And one of the improvements is any color on a spray deck is lighter now than we built them 8 or 9 years ago. So it will be a lighter color.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks, Raul. Thanks again for the question, Linda. So this is a kind of rapid fire. We got 3 quick ones. So will there be improved parent guardian observational space, presumably at the spray deck, but probably through the whole center? And then has training and outreach for lifeguards begun? And the last one, which I think you've already answered all, but worth mentioning as it's been asked again, will there be improvements for ADA access and use? Sorry. So yeah, so I think we've addressed the ADA as it's already in compliance, right? And then I think the question about, like, is there maybe an improved parent guardian observational space?
So I think that refers to parent guardian that want to see their kid when they're inside the arena. So we're hoping to get that with the addition of benches to the equipment. So obviously the benches would align along the wall, be a place for people to sit inside the arena while their kids are recreating. And I think there was a question in there, Dan, about lifeguards. We're always looking for lifeguards. I believe the window is open now for lifeguards. I see folks at DCR nodding their head. Mass.gov/DCR. We'd love to have lifeguards. One of the nicest groups I meet every year are our lifeguards that show up at CAS, number of our other urban pools. So door is open, pass the word along. Dan, we might want to put in the chat the lifeguard slide that shows how you can apply and and what that's all about so folks can get it and get it out to whoever asked that question.
I just added that to the chat, Raul. It's the link to the website.
There you go. Thank you.
Terrific, thanks. And actually, Louis, I see you have your hand raised as well. So if you'd like to follow up with any other questions, we'd love to hear it. And so you should be able to unmute your mic now.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. As a former official in EOEA for a number of years, the lifeguard process used to be run by MDC. It's a very important process, and I'm hopeful that you take the time to get in touch with all the community-based groups and organizations in the area to let them know this opportunity is available. We've had challenges for finding lifeguards in a lot of our pools over the last number of years. So if we can get that information out. The question on the ADA was based on what I observed while in the center. The shower room had a couple of obstructions that were there. And I'm hopeful that we've already addressed that because that was a clear issue for people who have mobility issues. And if the upgrade is going to take place according to the stalls and everything else, we need to be clear that the ADA access is meeting standards. And that plus we're doing so much work, it's clearly we should take that in consideration. The other questions are basically, I asked a question about the infrastructure issues as related to some of the joists and structures outside. The metal was rusting severely, and you do interiors check all the time, but being a former FEMA official, I'm always concerned about exterior stuff. And so I saw a lot of rusting. I was doing the check in the perimeter of the building. And so you do internal. I'm just hopeful that you guys get outside and make sure you don't have any unnecessary failure. And that was the purpose of the question. And thank you guys for the presentation. Thank you folks for being here. And we're looking forward as part of the CAST, group to continue work with you on all these issues.
Thanks very much. A couple quick questions or a couple quick answers. Sorry. The shower room, men's room, shower room to the left, already corrected. That was one of the initial things we did, but thank you for bringing that up. So showers now, bathrooms fully accessible, and we'll do another inspection as part of this transition back to us. Take a look at any exterior items. So appreciate the question.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Louis, for the great questions here. And I think we can go to Lisa, and then if we have a little time left, we can try to get another question or two from the chat. So let me give you permissions to speak. One moment. So you should be able to unmute your mic now, Lisa.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a question about the new surface you're using in the basketball multi-use area, being wheelchair friendly. Because I know that sometimes when you add some of those surfaces, you're saying it's more, it grips better, but then it's been discouraged for several different groups for using it because it grips better, which then you guys get worried about the damage to the surface. How is that being addressed?
Great question, Lisa. So the surface will be fully accessible. There was a comment earlier about the potential for adding roller skating. It will be hard enough to support roller skating, certainly hard enough, sturdy enough to support anyone in a wheelchair. So what we're really talking about is traction. If you are running and you want to stop your foot, if you're cutting in a tennis match or turning in a track and field event. So it's just a higher level of traction. It won't do anything to inhibit wheels from turning or a rollerblader or a roller skater, and the surface is structurally sufficient to support that type of use for hopefully another 10 years, maybe longer, but appreciate the question.
Thanks, Lisa, and thanks for all. So so there's a few more questions that we can read in the chat, and then I think we can just go to closing comments from Raul and the Commissioner, and then we can close the meeting out. So I just want to thank everyone again. We'll go a little over if that's okay, but there's just a few more that we can just wrap up with, and just appreciate everyone's time. One of the questions actually was, what's going to happen after this meeting? Are you going to get PowerPoint on request, or are you going to send it out? So as part of the registration, everyone gave an email address on Zoom, and that's the email address that we'll use to email the follow-up communication to everyone. That follow-up communication will include a link to the recording, the slide deck, the link to submit public comments, as well as the chat. There's a bunch of great comments in the chat that unfortunately we're not going to be able to read all of them for the recording on the meeting tonight, but those will be posted on the website alongside the other public comments after the public comment period. And so we'll send all of those out. And then after, you receive them, there's a 2-week public comment period from this date today. And if you'd like to help us get more word out, if you could forward that email to anyone else who might be interested in participating in this process, we'd really appreciate that, the additional feedback and interest in the project. So yeah, we really appreciate that. And let me just see if there's another comment that I can grab here momentarily. There was another question that I had. So yeah, actually asked, any talks on keeping the pool open through a later date? By the time I get ready to go swimming, they're all being closed for the season, but it isn't just kids who need the relief from the heat. I understand this is the same throughout all public pools.
So our,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I was just going to say our, the opening and closing of our pools is consistent throughout the agency. As was mentioned in the chat, one of the things that we heard from stakeholders was, the idea of covering the pool or the potential of covering the pool. That's obviously a much more significant investment, something that would be a little bit longer term. But something that we're certainly willing to address and take a look at and pursue. So, and that would give us the flexibility of having additional potential time for the pool to be open. But right now, our schedule is pretty strict throughout the season. Based on the availability of lifeguards and the folks that are important to making sure that the pool is a safe place.
Absolutely. Thanks, Commissioner. I think, there are 3 more questions. I think we can answer them pretty quickly. So there are 2 pertaining both to swimming and then 1 about community ownership. So the first one is from Ashley again. Will there be any lounge chairs available for use for swimmers to use? And then after these questions, I think we can go to closing comments. So that one's about lounge chairs.
So that's really a question for our aquatics division, but we do not allow lounge chairs or any other equipment like that in the pool when it's open to the public. It's really a safety issue. So we try to maximize the number of kids, the number of people that can be in our pool. So there is no equipment like that allowed in DCR pools.
Thanks for all. And then the next one is from Dorothy. Will lifeguard training occur within the Roxbury community? Where will the trainings take place?
Dan, 2 things. One, I'll put a link in the chat on where the various training for lifeguarding review, and waterfront skills will be. Excuse me. One of those training times will be at the facility, and it's May 18th, the 26th, June 1st, the 8th, and the 15th. So I'll put that link in the chat.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for posting that in the chat as well. So those resources will be available for everyone on the call, and we can make sure that those are distributed as well. So yeah, thank you for doing that. And then I'm sorry, there's actually one more question. So this one's about the arena. So with the arena going to a better rubber surface, how does it impact foot pivoting? And then we'll do one more and then we should close.
So I think the improved rubber surface will allow for pivoting, athletic use to be improved. So you'll be able to pivot, change direction without slipping as much as people had been. And again, I think the surface was fine. It was just one of those things. It's 14 years old. So it's just slippery, more slippery today than it was when we built it. So it should be improved then.
Terrific, thanks. And then the last one is Nataka said, is there a long-term strategy for fostering community ownership and involvement in designing, using, and maintaining spaces beyond just implementing new programming?
That's a great question to end on, Dan. I think that was, at least in my mind, a primary element in the spirit of tonight's meeting. So as the engineer in the equation, I can build some great spaces. I have built some great spaces. We really need staff to stimulate that community partnership. And folks on this call, other folks that you could connect with us, that concept of fostering community ownership and the involvement and designing and using and maintaining spaces. So that multi-purpose room, I think, is going to be beautiful, but I'm the engineer. But it won't function until it's filled with people, with programming, with some passion, with some excitement. So I think that's a great question to end it on. We're hoping to get that started with this meeting and keep the dialogue going so that when we build it and open it, it'll only be improved. So I appreciate that question as much as any tonight.
Yeah, and I would just add that, these are the beginning of conversations around the next phase, or as Raul mentioned, CAS 3.0, and these improvements, but the dialogue needs to continue. And so, we're looking to all of you to continue to stay engaged, make sure that you're holding us accountable, and making sure that this space is what you expect it to be and what it should be, and that it lives up to its potential. And I do think that it takes, not only me as commissioner, the staff, the folks on the ground, the community, the stakeholders, the permittees, the ability for us to have dialogue like this and for it to be ongoing and consistent is so important. So, I look forward to, we're going to have additional conversations about the feedback that we get here and further conversations as we move forward and as we progress towards these improvements happening. And I just look forward to making sure we continue to be engaged and that we continue the dialogue, and that, I think will be, a byproduct of the tremendous amount of support that we've heard here tonight, and the ability for us to continue to work together to foster that long-term vision for the CAS. So I so appreciate the feedback we've gotten, the things that we have to take back, the notes that we have, and for the dialogue to continue. This isn't a one and done conversation. This will be ongoing. So look forward to following back up with our definitive plans about how we're moving forward, and talking. I think someone mentioned talking about the surfaces and actually feeling them or looking at them. Those are important pieces that we want to make sure our users and the community are involved with. So this is the beginning of the dialogue around the CAS as we move forward into the summer of 2024. So just so appreciate the feedback and the response and the amount of people that have taken a little bit of time out of a Monday night to hear us out.
Absolutely. Thanks, Commissioner. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone, for participating tonight. Louis, I did see your comment about high schools and churches for lifeguard outreach. I'll make sure to follow up with you directly about that as well. But I just want to thank everyone again. And like I said, you'll see the follow-up information in your email as well. So be on the lookout for that. And until then, have a great rest of your evening. Thanks, everyone.